and I'd like to do an addition to the agenda and perhaps the agenda for the meeting to follow, and that would be on the video recordings. So I'd like to have an idea if Ag Service Board would like to entertain a motion to have all Ag Service Board meetings recorded. And I do appreciate that not all members are here, so you may not want to make that motion today. We are going to record it, but it'll be up to the Ag Service Board if you want the recordings posted on the website. So what I would suggest is we can add that to the agenda to follow. And then if you want, just make that motion, and then we'll just make sure that it gets put on the website, if that's okay with the members. So the next thing I'd like to get into would be the nominations for chair and vice chair. So I want to refer to bylaw 2018-28, which is the Wheatland County Agricultural Services bylaw. Under section 5.2, membership, I'd like to read 5.2. Annually at the first board meeting following the organizational meeting, the majority of members of the board shall elect a council member to set as chairperson and a second council member to set as vice chairperson. So what that means is it needs to be a council member that's chair and vice chair, so not a member of the public. So that would preclude Barry from being, and I see Brittany's coming around the corner, so she'll be here shortly, being the chair or vice chair. So just keep that in mind. Also, I'd like to bring to Ag Service Board's attention that under funding 9.1, the budget will be as authorized by council during the annual budget cycle. So what that means is council will set the budget, and the Ag Service Board has the authority to do expenditures up to the budget amount. If a budgeted amount exceeds that, then they would need to go back for approval to council. So as an example, if there was a budget of $100,000 in a certain project or line item, and it ended up that the project came back at 102,000, the Ag Service Board, through our manager, would have to go to the council and get approval for that extra funding. So does that make sense to everybody? So just so everybody's clear on that. Is there any other questions in regards to the bylaw before I call for questions on chairman of the Ag Service Board?
On the budget line items, is that every line on the budget, or is that like a category line?
A category line, yes.
Okay.
Yes. Or if it's a special project, so if there's an identified project in a capital area, a piece of equipment, let's say, and it's budgeted at 100,000 and it comes in when we get the quotes back at 105, then it would need to go back to council for that extra funding shortfall. Does that answer your question? Okay. And I see Brittany's here, so welcome, Brittany. So I just advised the Ag Service Board that we'd like to do chair and vice chair. So the chair and vice chair must be members of council, which means there is Armstrong, Eichert, Link, Kester, and Wilson that you have an opportunity to choose from. So I will first call for nominations for chair. Is there any nominations for chairperson? Amber?
I'll nominate Jason Wilson.
Okay. Glenn, you're good?
I accept.
You accept the nomination? Okay. Second call for chairperson. Is there any other? Third call for chairperson. Ben?
I'll move nominations cease.
Okay. Nominations cease. I declare Mr. Jason Wilson as the chairperson for the Ag Service Board for 2019. And I turn the meeting over to you, sir.
Thanks, Alan. You guys are stuck with me for another year. Lucky you guys. We will move on to 1.2B, nomination for vice chair. I will open up the floor for nominations. First call for nominations.
Who was vice chair last year?
You were.
I'll nominate Tom.
I'm not on that list.
That's okay. Second call for nomination. third call.
Nomination cease.
Glenn moves nomination cease. Congratulations, Tom. You are vice chair. Can I have somebody move the, we have additions. Where do you want to put the, just items up for discussion? C is the,
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, as far as the video recording, it certainly could go on the organizational meeting, or it could go on the agenda to follow. So
Sounds good.
it's up to you. I think it can go on the agenda to follow.
Okay.
Maybe as a first item, and
Okay.
then we can decide if you want me to turn the recording off or whatever. So, okay.
so then we will move right to items for discussion. 2.1, just request for decision, ASB Bursary and Environmental Stewardship Committee appointments. So, Russ, you want to take it?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So yeah, this is kind of a combined committee. We have had an Agricultural Service Board Selection Committee in the past. It's been a few years since one's been appointed. We did have an Environmental Stewardship Awards Committee that met once. So the recommendation is to just combine the two committees to save, obviously, just to have one meeting. And I think we're getting enough interest in our bursaries that it would be good to have a selection committee. As you know, I think last year we had 12, or there was maybe even more apply for the bursary. So I think it would be good if the committee could go to that or select for that. So attached to the RFD is just a terms of reference for the new committee. So we're recommending to have 3 members of the board and 1 alternate. Resource staff will be myself, assistant, admin assistant who's gay, and environmental coordinator Alyssa. Be 1 meeting a year. The bursaries, generally we have the application deadline the end of August, so the meeting would follow that. And yeah, so I think that's it. We are suggesting, yeah, I'll get into the bursary, I guess, details later on in the agenda, so.
Any discussion on terms of reference? Anybody have any questions, issues? Can I have a motion from ASB? Barry moves. All in favor? Carried.
Sorry, with that, Mr. Chairman, so we do need 3 members appointed. Currently, it'll be a recommendation to council because we don't have in our bylaw approval authority for this committee to, or for the ASB to make its own subcommittees yet. It may change that later in the year with the bylaw. But so we also need the appointment of 3 members and 1 alternate.
My mistake, Russ. I just read that it would be Councillor Wilson, Eichert, Bigger, and then alternate would be Ben.
So yeah, so that was the appointment to the Environmental Stewardship Committee in the past. You can certainly leave it that way if you wish. There would need to be a replacement for Councillor Bigger.
Yeah, my fault. So anybody want to sit on it? Okay. Okay, if that's okay. So Barry, Tom, myself, and Ben, you're good to stick as alternate? Sorry, my fault. Moving on, we will go 2.1B, alternate land use services partnership advisory committee. Well, Barry made it. Barry, I would say that's included in Barry's motion. That's okay. Go ahead, Russ.
Yeah, so our Alternative Land Use Services Partnership Committee, which we set up to meet after our ASB meetings in the afternoon. So this is just for information because the way we did set up the committee was in the terms of reference, the appointments that were made would run with the term of the Agricultural Service Board membership. So, so the appointments were made last year for Rex, Barry, and Jason, with Ben as the alternate to sit on the committee. So there's no need for new members unless you see otherwise. We would need to make a change to the terms of reference, though. And I think kind of the plan is to, after we go through a few meetings with this committee, just to review the terms of reference, and there may be some changes made, so.
Discussion? Comments from ASB? Everybody's happy with the recommendation? Can I have a motion from ASB?
I'll move we accept it as information.
Perfect. All in favor? Carried. Brittany, you can vote too. Moving on. Information items. 2019 ASB and Alice calendar meetings, dates and times. January 9th, today, Alice at 1. April 10th, ASB at 9, Alice at 1. July 3rd and October 2nd, same times. Anybody have issues with those dates that you know of? It's quite a ways away, but Tom doesn't have a life, so he's good to go. Everybody's good with him? Okay. Think that's all she wrote. We'll do that in the next meeting. So with that being said, can I have somebody move for adjournment for the organizational? Tom moves. All in favor? Carried. We will call the meeting to order at 9:14.